So how does the iPhone 11 compare to a DSLR camera? And how does it compare to an iPhone 7? In this video, I'm going to find out. What's up guys, this is Nicole Glass, and for today's video I'm going to test out the iPhone 11 and compare it to the iPhone 7 and my Canon 5D Mark IV. And that's mainly because these are the devices that I have access to right now. I actually don't own the iPhone 11, so I'll be meeting up with a friend who just bought one and I'll be using her phone to test it out. So she'll get a photo shoot with her own phone essentially. So why am I doing this? Well, a few reasons actually. As photographers, we're probably all really curious to see how smartphones are evolving because it affects the industry. But rather than get depressed over the fact that these amazing smartphone cameras are making us less needed, we should actually contemplate if and how we can incorporate these smartphones into our own businesses. Perhaps that means using smartphones for stock photography whenever you don't have your normal camera with you. Or maybe that means using them for B-roll when you're shooting videos. Or for any other social media purposes in general. So with that being said, let's go meet Kelly and see what the iPhone 11 is all about. So I'm here with my friend Kelly, and Kelly has so graciously allowed me to use her iPhone 11 to test it out because I don't have an iPhone 11 and I want to see how good the camera is before I decide whether or not I want to upgrade. So Kelly, what do you think of the iPhone 11 so far?
The camera looks pretty good so far. I've done some inside photo shoots and it seems to provide enough light, and so that's really what I was looking for.
Is the camera like the main reason you upgraded?
That and the processing.
So we're just gonna test out the wide angle settings. We're also gonna see what portrait mode looks like, and then we're gonna go into a parking garage to see how the iPhone 11 performs in the dark. So let's see how it does. Okay, so for this particular comparison, I used an iPhone 7 Plus and the iPhone 11, which has fewer camera capabilities than the iPhone 11 Pro Max or the iPhone 11 Pro. The iPhone 11 has two cameras, the ultra wide and the wide. The iPhone 11 Pro and Pro Max have an additional camera, the telephoto, but we didn't have that third camera option. So knowing that, let's take a look at some photos with the options that we did have. Let's start by looking at three photos. The sun was behind my friend when I took this photo and I wanted to see how the phone could handle it. You can see a major difference between the iPhone 7 and the 11. The 11 just has so much more detail and quality. However, it does seem to oversaturate faces a little bit, which is great if you want to look tanner than you are, I guess. Also, if you zoom into my friend's head, you'll see she gets blurry at the edge of her head, so portrait mode is definitely not perfect. Now, for the photos that I took with my Canon 5D Mark IV, I used a 50mm prime lens whenever I was comparing the photos to portrait mode photos on the iPhones. And I used a 16 to 35mm wide angle lens when I was comparing it to wide angle shots. Just to clear that up. I tried to get a similar frame with all three devices, and of course there's human error, and it's impossible to get the exact angle with every shot, but I tried my best. Okay, so a few more comparisons using portrait mode. When you look closely at the iPhone 11 photo, you'll see distortion due to the wider angle. The iPhone 11 main camera has the equivalent focal length of around 26mm, while its wide angle has the equivalent focal length of 13mm. The iPhone 11 Pro and 11 Pro Max have that additional camera with the 52mm equivalent focal length, but unfortunately the iPhone 11 does not have that last camera option. Ideally, when taking headshots, you want to have more of that telephoto option. Therefore, the iPhone 11 Pro or Pro Max would be better for close-up headshots. But having only the iPhone 11 itself to test out, I had to just work with the options that I did have, which was the two wider angle cameras. Honestly, I didn't really like the iPhone 11 for close-up headshots or, close-up portraits, but I did, however, really like it for full body shots with portrait mode on. When taking full body photos of someone on portrait mode using the main camera, the iPhone 11 does really well. Just look at this comparison here. Again, the iPhone 7 photo looks okay from a distance, but when you zoom in, you'll see the lack of detail in the photo. The iPhone 11 shot is quite nice. The only con is that it definitely elongates Kelly's face a little bit, but again, that's because of the wider angle, and the Pro and the Pro Max would have that third camera option. And here are a few more comparison photos. Okay, so check this comparison out. First off, my composition here is terrible because I've got that tree sticking out of my friend's head, but don't judge me. It definitely bothers me enough already, but I still wanted to include this just for comparison purposes. Here you can see what the iPhone 11 does when it comes to exposure. It really brings out that blue sky while also having a perfectly exposed subject. Compare that to a single photo taken with my Canon 5D Mark IV. Of course, you can get that sky to be better exposed with a DSLR, but in this case, it would either require multiple exposures or some editing to really bring out that background. The iPhone technology just does all of that on its own. So looking at these comparisons, there's a few obvious pros and cons. One thing I noticed is that the iPhone 11 really tried to brighten up and saturate the images. For some people, that's a desirable effect. Personally, I wanted a more moody look, so I didn't appreciate it. Another thing you'll notice is that portrait mode on the iPhone 11 ensures that the entire person is in focus. If you look at the 5D Mark IV photo here, you'll see that what I focused on, which is the face, whereas other body parts that are closer to the camera, like the arm, are out of focus, which is normal. Obviously, the iPhone 11 photo is a little more unrealistic in this sense, but for some people, that is also a desirable effect. We just took some photos outside on this beautiful fall day. Now we're gonna head into a dark parking garage because we want to see how the phone does down there.
Please stay here before returning to your vehicle.
Yeah, this is a very well-lit parking garage. All right, so our last stop for this photo shoot was actually the gym.
Right?
Which is where Kelly's a member. And the reason we came here is because there are some really dark rooms where if you keep the lights off, you pretty much don't get a lot of light.
Yeah.
And we wanted to see, really test that iPhone's limits. So we were actually really surprised by how well the iPhone did in a very, very dark room. Yeah. What do you think about it?
I mean, it was crazy. It was pulling out details that the other phone didn't even realize were happening. And it was just that was our iPhone 8 comparison, right?
The iPhone 7.
It was iPhone 7. So we were looking at those two and it was just like completely different pictures.
Yeah, when you put a portrait mode on the iPhone 7 and then you put portrait mode on the iPhone 11, it's like night and day. The iPhone 7 photo is not even usable. And I'm gonna put the settings that I used with my camera to take that photo up on the screen so you can see what I used. You can see I really pushed that ISO, and for the iPhone 11 to compete with that is incredible. I didn't think I would actually like the iPhone 11 that much because I'm not really much of an iPhone shooter just because I always have my camera with me, but I'm surprised. So obviously these comparisons are not perfect because, in a perfect world, I would have compared the iPhone 7 Plus to the iPhone 11 Pro, not the iPhone 7 Plus to just the iPhone 11. But the point of this video was not really to compare iPhones to other iPhones. The point is really just to show, to demonstrate how freaking amazing smartphones are becoming, the capabilities that a smartphone has. In this case, the capabilities that the cheapest iPhone 11 has. It's still amazing even if it's not perfect. So what do you think is the future of smartphone technology? Let me know. So guys, I hope you enjoyed seeing, you know, the differences between the iPhone versus a DSLR. Cameras are getting so good these days, and I just wanted to see how good iPhone cameras really are. So I hope you know, got something out of that. And Kelly, what do we say before we end the video?
We say make sure to subscribe to this channel and press that like button.
You got it. Till next time. Sometimes you run into friends while shooting YouTube videos. What a cutie.